It just proves how strong the glue is, or like John said, how weak I am. Yeah, I'm just gonna stop embarrassing myself right now. Dang it. All right, well, it works really good with foam. CA glue, or cyanoacrylate glue, is an acrylic resin used as an adhesive to bond two surfaces together. Now, this glue has many uses in different industries such as industrial, medical, household, and even hobbyists. The scope of this video is going to be talking about CA glue in relation to the finished carpenter / woodworker. Now, I have two CA glue supplies right here. I have a 2-ounce CA glue bottle, and I have an 8-ounce CA glue supply bottle. Now, these glues by themselves will form a bond and cure on their own. But the main benefit to using a CA glue versus a traditional wood glue is that these glues are activated with an accelerator. Now, there's two kinds of accelerators that we use. I use an Instaset accelerator, and this is a liquid form. And I also have an aerosol accelerator. So these accelerators, although they're both different, they form a chemical reaction when met with the glue, and it causes the glue to basically just activate immediately and cure within literally seconds. So now that we know what CA glue is and how it works, let's go ahead and see it in action. So the question is, what does this glue work with? What kind of materials will it bond together? And the simple answer really is just about anything in the construction finished carpenter world. I've used this stuff on everything from MDF to hardwoods to foam moldings and polyurethane millwork. So I have all those samples today, and we're gonna glue up some stuff, and I'm gonna show you guys how this stuff works. So what I have here is some MDF crown molding, and I've got a bullnose corner, outside bullnose corner cut. These are the pieces for that. And we're gonna glue this up right now. Now I'm gonna use the little, these are the exact same, just different, different quantities in the ounces. I got a 2-ounce bottle here, and I'm gonna use the spray versus the aerosol. So what I've got here is a crown molding that I'm gonna glue up, and I'm gonna show you exactly how I do that. Now, the first thing you wanna do when you're using this stuff, you definitely wanna be in a ventilated area and make sure you've got eye protection on, because the last thing you want is to inhale this stuff and also get it in your eyes. So make sure you got that covered. In cutting that nozzle as small as you can is very important, because as this oxidizes, it loses its power. So you wanna make sure you keep it, as less oxygen in the bottle as possible. So when you're done, you reseal it with the cap. So now that we got that out of the way, we got our glue bottle open. The accelerator is simple. You just take the lid off, and that you pump it a few times to get it going, and it'll spray. And it's really windy out here today, so it's spraying over that way. So that's all we need. We just need the CA glue and the accelerator. Here's what I do. I'll take that CA glue right in the middle of my crown molding and just run a nice bead right in the middle. It doesn't have to be too thick, because it doesn't take much of this glue to form a bond between the two surfaces. So if you can see that right there, that's not really that much glue. Now I've got my bullnose piece that I want to join it up with. So what I'll do is I'll spray the mating side. So I got this piece that connects with that piece, and then what I want to do is just spray the opposite side. And I kind of saturate it just so I know I get a good bond. So I just saturate it and spray it directly onto it. And then from there, it's just a matter of precision and lining the two moldings up, and then holding it for about 5 to 7 seconds. So I usually hold it for about 5 to 7 seconds, and then it's good to go. So there's the first corner. And we'll go on to the next one. Same exact process. I'll run that bead right in the middle. I like to put it in the middle because as the pieces come together and they compress the glue, it kind of squeezes out to the sides. Same thing. I'll just saturate the other end with spray, making sure I get a good spray on there, and then I'll get these two matched up. Then it's just another 5 to 7 seconds of waiting, and there's your outside crown molding bullnose corner. So that material right there is MDF. And you can see on the back here, the piece that I sprayed, when I said I saturated it, you can see how it's soaked in to the MDF. I sprayed this piece on this side, and then I sprayed the small piece on this side right here. So that's how you get a really good bond. And that's MDF. Works great with this. Now, everything I glue up in this video, I'm gonna try to break with my hands just to show you. I can break it, but it does take a lot of effort to break this stuff. So, you know, I'm not the strongest guy around, right? But I can break this stuff. So this has been drying for, I don't know, a minute. So I don't wanna try to break it just yet. I'll break it here in a second. But the next thing we're gonna glue up is, let's do the foam beam. I got a foam beam and we'll glue that up next. So what I have here is a big piece of basically foam that is used as an architectural beam. It has this U shape cut out of it, so you can mount it up onto your ceiling. And it looks like a piece of like railroad tie or something, some kind of like distressed wood. Let's see how good this glue works with foam. And I'm gonna glue this miter on right here to kind of close up this beam like a return. And this time I'm actually gonna use the aerosol can, because this aerosol can, I like to think of this as more for covering a lot of surface really quick. And this little can, or this little bottle that you saw me use on the crown molding there, this is more for like precision spraying, like little pieces. So keep that in mind for whatever application your job calls for. So it's the same thing. I'm just gonna take this CA glue and run a bead in the middle of my foam. This foam, since it's so thick, it could probably use a thicker bead than the crown molding. So I'll probably go back around and make this bead a little bit thicker, just so I get a good bond. And then I'm gonna use that aerosol can to get more coverage and spray this one. And now we can put these together and get that bonding to get started. And again, we'll hold it for 5 to 7 seconds. And while you're holding it, you can put pressure on it. I mean, you don't gotta really, you know, get crazy with it, but you just wanna put pressure on it, just normal pressure, to get that glue and that accelerator to actually bond. So there's the beam, and we glued on a miter. So that's simple. So there's MDF, there's foam, and now let's go to polyurethane. Polyurethane millworks are really popular as far as like real fancy stuff that's paint grade. So I'll grab the polyurethane millwork next. But this should have had plenty of time to dry now. I'm gonna try to break this one. All right, here we go. Oh, this is gonna be embarrassing. You weakling. I can't do it. All right, there we go. Yeah, it tore the molding apart. I mean, this stuff is no joke, so be careful with it. It's definitely not something you'd want to, you know, mess around with. It's very serious. Keep it out of your eyes. It's very strong, and that's why I love using it, is because if I'm going to put a warranty on my work, I want to make sure that my stuff is not going to split. So CA glue is a no-brainer for me. I was actually taught to use CA glue from the very beginning. As soon as I got in the trade, use CA glue. So it's all I've ever used, so I really enjoy it. So I'll put that to the side and we'll get the polyurethane. Now what I have here is polyurethane millwork. It feels like foam, but it's a little bit different, and it's becoming very popular for ornate moldings, stuff that's paint grade, really fancy stuff. So same thing, we're going to use the small bottle, and I'm just going to run that bead right in the middle, so when I compress the moldings together, it kind of squeezes out to the sides. And I do that in the middle because I don't like putting it on the edge, because if you put it on the edge with the CA glue, it'll squeeze out, and since it dries so fast, it's going to be really hard to sand off and, you know, get that off. So you'll save yourself some trouble if you just stick to the center of the glue surface rather than towards the outside. So got that one glued up, and for this small piece I'm going to use the liquid accelerator. And then it's just a matter of precision getting it together. And one thing I noticed with this foam and polyurethane, this stuff is literally like that. I mean, that isn't no 7 seconds, just like that. I still wait a little bit to let it fully cure, but it grabs instantly. It's insane. I learned that the hard way by you know, just trial and error. But just keep that in mind if you're going to be using this on the polyurethane millwork and moldings. So I'll break this one. Actually, it's time to break the beam. Let's see if I can rip this thing apart. So I got this glued on. I don't know about this. I don't think this is going to happen. This is so embarrassing. But at the same time, it just proves how strong the glue is, or like John said, how weak I am. Yeah, I'm just gonna stop embarrassing myself right now. Dang it. All right, well, it works really good with foam. So, what's next? Yeah. I'm gonna wait to break this too, just give this some time to cure. And then we'll go into finger joint pine next. Finger joint pine, I'll grab that sample and we'll get started gluing that up. Now what I have here is a vaulted crown molding where I would be, you know, going up a slope ceiling with this little transition piece. And I always glue these on. Like, if there's anything I use CA glue for, it is this right here. Here in Texas, we have so many vaulted ceilings, so we're constantly using this transition piece. So again, same exact process. I'm gonna just run a bead right in the middle of my molding here. And then accelerate the mating side, or spray the mating side with the accelerator. And then it's precision time. Get that one. I would hold this one for 5 to 7 seconds. And there you go. And this is, if you can't understand what this is a room, the top of the ceiling, and then the ceiling goes up like that. So this would be like an inside 90-degree corner, but the ceiling slopes up. I use this every time. So we will, I'll set that to the side, and now I'll try to break this. I should be able to break this. This is gonna be a joke if I can't break this. Yeah, it did. I don't know if you could see that, but the glue really didn't even fail. The polyurethane actually failed. I don't know if you can see that there, but The glue is still mating. The polyurethane failed. Amazing, amazing stuff. This stuff really is. So next I have flex mold. Flex mold is rubber, and we use flex mold all the time. More, modern houses have curved walls, curved ceilings, all kinds of, curved drywall, and we've got to have rubber moldings to trim those out. So we're going to do a little cove molding, and I'll show you that right now. Set this to the side. We'll break that here in a second. And here's my little pieces of rubber cove molding. But to give you an idea, this is the actual long piece. So this could wrap around anything. It's a piece of cove molding, but it's just molded out of a rubber resin. So very, very useful. We use this stuff a lot. It comes usually in 12-foot rolls. So that's the big picture. Here's two small samples I cut. These are, this is a 45-degree angle, 22.5 miters, very common. And we're gonna see how this glue does with this rubber here. And you'll notice the process for gluing up anything is the exact same. I've done the exact same thing every time I've glued something up. Glue one side, spray the opposing side. And same thing with that polyurethane. You've got about 1 second to get that stuff together, and it is done. So there it is. You see why this stuff is so useful in the trade, because how much time would you save, especially, if you were trying to shoot a brad into that, you could probably get away with some pin nails, but to avoid those nail holes, I mean, this stuff is awesome. And I actually have fun using it. It's one of the cool, resources we have available for working. It's a really interesting thing to use, and trying to figure out ways you can use it and put it into practice. So there's that finger joint pine, and I should be able to break this pretty easy. Yeah, that's the finger joint pine, easiest one to break. Now this, I don't know if I'm gonna be able to rip this. We'll see here in a second. We'll let that cure a little bit longer. And the last thing I'm gonna show you is hardwoods. So we've seen MDF, we've seen foam, we've seen finger joint pine, polyurethane millwork, rubber, and the last thing I'm going to show you is some red oak crown molding, and I'll show you that right now. Now my last and final example is going to be this red oak crown molding. I've got some real intricate pieces here, really small things, and that's where the CA glue really shines, is when you want to glue something really small and you need it to be precise. You really can't shoot that piece necessarily, and you don't want to have a nail hole in it. So I'm just going to mock, I cut these samples. This is just to mock up what you would see on a cabinet or something. So what I'm going to do is the same exact thing every time. I'm going to glue one side of my red oak crown molding, put a good amount on there. This is a pretty thick molding, and then I'm going to accelerate the other side. Now, one thing I will say with this stain grade material is that you want to make sure you have zero squeeze out on your finished side of your molding, because if you have some squeeze out of this CA glue, that part is not going to stain. I repeat, that part is not going to stain no matter how hard you sand, because that resin in the CA glue stains the wood before your stain can. So keep that in mind. If you get a little bit of the activator on your finished side, that's okay. It'll dry up and absorb. You can do a light sanding there. But the CA glue part, no, you do not want that on there. That piece will be wasted. So there's my outside corner, typical 3 5/8 colonial style crown molding. Now, I've shown you pretty much outside corners. That's all I've really shown you. Now I have an inside corner, just an inside miter. and I'm gonna glue that up. It's the same exact process. So this stuff works on inside miters, outside miters, works on everything. I put a little bit more. And I've got that outside miter going into that inside miter. And then I'll do a return next. These little pieces are very intricate, and oftentimes when they're shot, they can split. And then this little return that I just glued together will be glued on to the mating piece for the return. And there we go. So we have this crown molding come out to an outside 90 degree, turns to an inside 90 degree, and then it just returns into the wall or cabinet or wherever you're at. So I think this glue works with everything that I need it for in my trade. And this glue has all kinds of uses, like I said in the beginning, and it's just amazing stuff. I really believe in this product. So here's that rubber. I'm gonna try to rip this apart. Not too bad on that. I think the hardest one for me to rip, or I didn't even do it, was the foam. So works extremely well with all these different materials. So I'm gonna let this one cure, and I'll try to break that one apart. So what we need to talk about next is this bottle right here. Inside this bottle contains what's called uncure. And if it's to uncure the chemical process that took place when you activated the glues. A lot of times with me, you know, I'm in work mode. I'm trying to get things done. I'm holding pieces together, trying to get the precision miter to line up. And what do you know? I glued my fingers together. It actually happens. So what you want to do, don't worry, don't you know, freak out if that happens. You just want to, if you glued your fingers together, you just want to get some of this uncure, drip it on there, but in the surface where it's glued together, and just roll them together. And I've actually done it without this. I mean, this will definitely speed up the process, but you can kind of roll your fingers together and usually it'll just peel off. It's not something you want to mess around with. So be really careful about gluing things to other things. You don't want to do that. But we will do an example of how this works. I'll just put a dab of CA glue on this table and we'll activate it, and then we'll try to deactivate it or uncure it with this. But before that, let me try to break this. This is that red oak. Not too bad. That one was a little harder. I probably had more glue on that joint. And then this little return, I don't think that's gonna happen because I can't get a grip on it. But yeah, definitely some strong stuff. So we're gonna zoom in right here and show you this chemical reaction that takes place when it's activated versus when it's not activated. And then we'll try to uncure the activated portion of the glue. I'm gonna put a dab onto this plywood. This is just red oak plywood. And we're gonna see how this activates really up close. So I'll put a dab just right here. Put a nice little puddle, I guess. Make it worth it. And then I'm gonna put a puddle right over here too. And we're not going to activate this puddle. So we got two areas of CA glue, and one of them I'm gonna activate. Let's activate this one. We'll let that accelerator kind of dry around it and we'll see what took place. So that should be, yeah, that's pretty, it formed a layer around it, and then you can see some of the glue that wasn't accelerated yet kind of squeeze out of that little bubble that it made. So I'll go ahead and activate that too. Okay, so that is hard like plastic now. It's not moving. And then this side, same time. And it's still very, very wet. So that accelerator definitely speeds up the process. This is hard. I can touch it now. It's not gonna get on my skin. But let's see if we can uncure that with some of this formula here in this bottle. And we'll let that set up for a few minutes and kind of soak in there. It's gonna take a lot more time to uncure it than cure it. And that's still, that one's getting a little bit harder. Oh yeah, it's actually turning it back into, I really can't even touch that now. You see how it's, I mean, I just dragged my finger across that earlier and it has uncured it. I wouldn't touch that with my finger now. I'm gonna put a little bit more on there. Let that soak in. Yeah, it is uncuring it. See if I can get it off. Oh yeah, look at that. It's actually letting me take the whole CA glue off. That's the, that right there is the CA glue. I activated it, or I accelerated it, made it cure, and then I used the uncure to actually take it off of the surface. So very interesting chemical reactions that are happening here. And it's a little sticky, but it's not sticking to me at all. All right, so there you have it, guys. I think I covered everything, at least that I can think of, as far as CA glue and how I use it. So if you have any other tips or if you have any other tricks that you know with CA glue, definitely leave them in the comments below. I'll check them out. Other people will read them as well. And yeah, I'm real excited about sharing this with you. So many people have asked me to make a video about this stuff and, you know, explain how to use it, how does it work, what can you use it with. So I'm real happy to get this information out there. And I'm really excited because we actually have a full supply of this stuff at my web store, which is www.dfwcrown.com. And you can buy this stuff directly from me, and every purchase made, when you purchase this from us, it helps support our channel. So if you really feel that you like our channel and you want to support what we're doing here by teaching these free videos and all this free stuff, definitely consider supporting us by purchasing some of these products that we now carry. Again, that's dfwcrown.com. And every bottle that we have, that we ship to you, will have the DFW Crown trim glue logo on it. So I'm really excited about that too. We got our own logo on the bottles and couldn't be more happy about this deal that we have with this glue. So definitely check that out. We covered the CA glue, the aerosol accelerator, more CA glue, the liquid accelerator, and then we went over the uncure, which uncures what all these do. So hopefully you enjoyed this video. Thanks so much for watching, and we will see you next time. I think we picked the windiest day to do this. Look how windy it is out here. My shirt, thankfully I have this little like microphone wind protector. Look at this, it's just blowing around in the wind. And what's really cool is we use the CA glue to glue this box right here. This box that holds the CA glue, I glued it onto the thing because it wouldn't stop blowing around. And then this wouldn't stay up here because it's so windy. So I actually glued this to my miter saw stand, or my material stand. So this glue has more uses than you think.